have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The newest show sensation streaming throughout the multiverse. Your hang place in cyberspace for paranormal news and views. Taboo Topics with Gene Broida.
Welcome, everyone, to Taboo Topics with Gene Broida. I'm your host, Gene Broida, also known as Lightworker 111, beaming to you from sea to shining sea, across the Americas and around the world every Sunday night between 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States on my Taboo Topics YouTube channel and at tabootopics.life/shows and simulcast on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Panelists about paranormal events, conspiracies, and other hush-hush subjects that we all explore further before moving on to the next taboo topic. On today's show, please welcome my extra special guest panelist, Age Nost, a good friend, a metaphysical influencer, an on-air personality, and so much more. Age, for people who don't know you, tell our worldwide audience a bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to make it fun. I love having fun. And when you look around you today, you see a lot of people are not having that much fun anymore. But I tell you, that is what life is about. And since I came to the United States, I've been so lucky. I've been able to do what I really enjoy doing.
Where did you come from?
I came from Norway in the middle part of the country. And I came here to go to flight school. I did that, got all my certificates and ratings, and I flew for a living for 23 years. And then I started to do other things, like exploring the mind and investigating the ghost, which is right up your alley. And, a lot of other things. And it has been quite a ride. I'm a host. I was hosting and producing 2 TV shows in Tucson. One of them was the Access News, which covered all the news stories that no other media dared to touch. And it's amazing that I'm still alive, but I'm here. And the other one was The Hidden Truth, which covered the same type of subjects. And now Nori and I were doing a radio show, and I do another radio show, and we created a mastermind group where we, in fact, you're part of that. And
tell everybody who Nori is, for those who don't know.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Nori Love. She is my partner on the broadcast team Alpha Show and the mastermind, and she's an incredible lady. Nori Love. Go to Facebook, try to look her up, and get acquainted with her because you're going to learn something. You're going to be richer from knowing her. So anyway, we are here, and what else should I say? I guess I'm
Well,
here.
tell us about projects. Tell us. You are up to so much. You're an author. You're a podcaster. Don't you have your
Yeah.
own network? Is my understanding. Universal Consciousness.
Yeah, I am an author. I've written a couple of books. One of them is, I got no shame. I got to show it off. That's spirit science, higher conscious thinking, and how to access the universal consciousness of them. And that is where I teach people how to use their mind in ways that they normally would think would be impossible. And also, there's one out there that I really haven't done much with, but it's a catalog out of Hawaii that is marketing for me. It is universal success principles, and how billionaires think. And this is something that a long time ago I was given a saying by someone, and I forget who it was. He said, "Readers are leaders." So I've been reading a lot, and I still read a lot. And there's a tip for everybody out there. Late at night, I always on the computer and I read foreign newspapers. If you start reading foreign newspaper, you'll find a lot of the truth that you'll never see in American media. And I've been doing a lot of that. And that's why I took crawled out of the box decades ago, and I never even know what the box is anymore.
I hear that, especially your comment about foreign correspondence getting, and it's a testament to American media, but I don't like to dwell in those spaces. I dwell in the space of alternative media, as do you. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
Free press. I grew up with free press in the psychedelic 60s.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Power to the people, right on. And perhaps this is the opportunity. I had a vision, a clairvoyant kind of vision, that here's an opportunity. Our society is being refabricated on a daily basis, hourly basis. What an opportunity to make lemonade here. And there is a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. Well, I don't know if I've ever lived in as interesting times as these, which is why I find solace and relief in off topics. As a writer of daily articles, there is a bombardment going on in media. Need I tell anyone who pays any attention on it at all and doesn't just live in a cave? And before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to introduce everyone to me. I'm the host, Gene Broida, of Taboo Topics with Gene Broida, which airs every Sunday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, on my Taboo Topics with Gene Broida YouTube channel. Please visit there, give a like, and subscribe. And if you click the little bell, you'll get broadcast alerts. Also available through my website, tabootopics.life/show, and also multicast on Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Thanks to Age Nas for joining me. I am a lifelong UFO researcher, as are many of the people who come on this show and people we talk about on this show. I am a parapsychologist, meaning that I have a traditional, shall we say, or Western education in psychology. I took a degree. And as a paranormalist, a person who accounts for, it's not that I believe in, I have subjective evidence or proofs that paranormal phenomena do exist. It's not my purpose to persuade anyone else that I have these beliefs or objective impressions, more to the point, not so much belief as conviction. I am not in the game of compelling anyone or I might want to persuade people to regard my convictions, but I'm certainly not going to strong arm anybody into believing what I believe. But more and more people seem to be coming around to believe what a lot of us believe, that there are strange doings going on the planet and have been for quite a long time. So as a byproduct of UFO research, I fell rapidly into generic conspiracy theory research. I had a college professor who lectured on, even though he wasn't supposed to, he spent 15 minutes at the end of every lecture showing the Zapruder film and talking about the JFK assassination, which was one of the first false flag events in the country before anybody even knew what that was. And he said it couldn't have been a lone gunman. So I was brought up of questioning authority, of student protests, and I was a student. My mentors were advising education and empowerment to fight a system that has, by now, decades later, done the things we said it would if left unbridled. And it has done so. It's all unfolded almost textbook-like. So here we are in this day and age, wondering what will happen next. And what's interesting is that there's a growing number of truth seekers and starseeds who are waking up in consciousness. It all seemed to have started around, well, not all of it, but there was a wave of awakening, it seems, in 2014. Certainly happened to me, many other people I've talked to. We started questioning in great numbers the official narrative. And as people started to publish their findings, other people built on that knowledge. And all of a sudden we saw some interconnection between topics we thought were very far apart, such as archaeology and astronomy. They are actually very closely wed when you get into archaeological and historical records. So these are remarkable times. Some people draw parallels to Revelation, the book of Revelations in the Bible. Other people talk about Hopi prophecy as this is the end of a world, or the surface world, perhaps. A remaking of society certainly is, there's no doubt that's going on. I'm a lemonade out of lemons kind of person when at all possible. And what I'm seeing and experiencing with my own eyes is that as masses of people who are overly crowded, especially, are reacting in fear, as in other words, a person is smart, people are stupid, and I'm not calling anybody stupid. That's from a movie, okay, Men in Black. And it's an adage, it's a saying that if you are informed, if you think on your own, if you have got the information to make a good decision, then you're empowered. That's the empowerment here. Now, I think our third person is coming here. Hold on. Yes. Welcome, Don. Can you hear me? Oh, he's still connecting. So welcome everyone to Taboo Topics with Gene Broida. We are joined tonight by Age Nost and now Don Young. I'm your host, Gene Broida. Welcome to this April 5th, 2020 episode. And let me just tell you a little bit about Don. So glad you overcame your technical difficulties. Don is an amazing man. He's an author, a couple books at least that I know of, Iroquois Shaman, and my brother, fellow Paralogian, on the Paralogian Report with Kevin and Jennifer Malik. Kevin passed into other worlds right around Christmas time, and we miss you, my brother. We love you, Jennifer, and in fact, this show is dedicated to you both, your family, your friends, everyone who knows the Maliks, who are awesome. So, Don, for the Radio Network, please take a few moments and introduce yourself, buddy. Glad to be here. Glad you're here. Welcome.
All right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, my name, as she said, is Don Young. I've been a shaman since about 1972. I was taught by Ben Standing Crow, an Iroquois shaman, family friend at that time. I wrote 2 books about my life. And yeah, it's keeps me busy, I can say that. My lifestyle. I go to Indian reservations or they come to me, and I heal or do what I can spiritually for them. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I live in Wisconsin. Okay, that's about it.
Well, I'm curious about your background there. Your background.
Oh, the background basically is I grew up in the area of Phillips, Wisconsin. I was a farm boy, 700 some acres of land. It was the family farm, so I spent most of my time in the woods, getting real close to wild animals. I had quite a few encounters with cryptids over the years. A lot of paranormal. Since I was a kid, I've always had visions, and that's one of the things that Ben Standing Crow seen in me. So he took me under his wing. Had a lot of hardships, a lot of deaths when I was young, and that just built me into who I was. I grew up a Lutheran, but my faith quickly changed to the animistic or Native American. I didn't find any comfort in Christianity, so I was lost to it with all the deaths and uncomfortable circumstances of my youth. Um, Basically, I belong to the Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. Um, I go on hauntings and stuff like that. I've been on TV a few times, been in movies, so to speak, documentaries and such, radios. That's about it.
Well, that's plenty, Don. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful you and Augie are here. And Augie, for Don's benefit and viewers who have just tuned in to Taboo Topics with Gene Broida here on April 5th, 2020, just 30 seconds, thumbnail sketch, where are you at? Where are you coming from? Augie. Oh, I muted you. There we go. Try that.
I am unmuted. So anyway, yeah, I was born and raised in Norway, over in Northern Europe. I came to the United States when I was 25 to go to flight school. Did that and got all my certificates and ratings, and I flew for 25 years, actually 23 years, and later on started investigating the mind and practicing from hypnosis to astral travel, and taught development courses. I've done a couple of TV shows of my own for 6 years, and now I'm doing radio shows. We got shows ongoing for years, and I'm teaching classes on the internet and having the time of my life. That's about it for me.
Well, we have fun here on Taboo Topics with Gene Broida, and to lead off that fun, because everyone here assembled today hopes that everyone out there listening and watching will enjoy the show as we shed light in the dark corners of reality as we know it. And to lead us off, we have Age Nost.
Would you, do you want me to get on to the subject?
Yes, please. What article of interest have you brought before us for you to partake to us, and then we can hear your views on it, and then we will kick it around like a little soccer ball.
All right. Well, let's see. In that case, I'm going to take you way out on the fringes, because I started a course, teaching a class on astral travel. I did. We do that at the Mastermind Connection, which Nori and I are doing. And to talk astral travel that is so far out there that it's very few that really is teaching it. So common, but a lot of people don't like to talk about it because even the people that is close to them start looking out of the corner of their eye, looking like, oh yeah, sure you did. Yeah, that's we get that feel. But then again, there are thousands of people that have had these experiences. And many of them come from stressful situations when they had a car accident, got mangled up, and end up in the hospital on the operating table. And the doctors are working on them, trying to put them back together. And the person just suddenly finds himself hanging up at the ceiling, looking down at himself, watching these people trying to put their bones together and things. And find themselves back in the body, and they talk about it afterwards, or maybe they don't talk at all because they think people don't understand. But there are so many people that have had these experiences. There is no chance of even discounting it. And the thing about it is that it can be taught. See, there is a way to learn this, and there are some techniques to it that is fairly simple. No, I didn't say easy. There's a little bit of effort on our part. You got to practice a little bit. And if somebody practice maybe for once a day for a week or two or three, then they should be able to do this. And these out-of-body experiences, they are an eye-opener. Once you have had an experience like this, you will be the same. Your life will change. You suddenly find out who you are. You are not this thing that looks back at you in the mirror when you go into the bathroom and look in the mirror. That's not you. There is something behind this. And find that in science tell us that there's more than one universe. And there's a multiverse. And within those universes, within the scale of vibration, there is untold realities. And we're finding out the real world is not what it looks like. It is not even where you think it is around you. No, it's not out there. It's not out there at all. It is in here. Now, quantum physics is telling us that we live in a mind-created universe. And many scientific experiments within quantum physics that prove this is the way it is. Even some of these experiments actually has gone so far that they can correct the past. Now, Newtonian physics says that is impossible because linear time goes all the way in one direction, from the past, where you have a memory of it, through the present and on to the future. And it's not reversible. Not Newton, you were wrong on that one. And when we are in a mind-created universe, we got to think about that. What does a mind do? It creates things. It stores experiences. It creates mental images, creates sensation. But is it real physically? No. No. But it is real in your mind because you can see it. You are living it. So I have an analogy that I've been using this, and some of you listeners out there have heard this one, and you're probably getting sick of hearing it. I'm going to sit for the benefit of those that have it. I'm a hypnotist, and if I put you in a soft chair and talk to you for 15 minutes, and I tell you that when I snap my finger, And I tell you, when you come out, you're going to see an elephant standing next to you in the room. And I snap my finger, come back out. If I did my job right, you would see that elephant there. You can reach out and you can touch the snout on the elephant. You can feel the rough texture of the skin. You can smell him. You can hear him breathing. That elephant is totally for you. The only problem is that you see the elephant because there is no elephant there. So, what happened to your real world? Did it go away? Yeah, it did. But what difference between the world you see around you right now and that elephant? What's the difference? You need to ponder that. In fact, next time you wonder a little bit, ask yourself a question going into meditation. What is the real world? Ask the question and go into meditation. You might be surprised the answer that's coming back. See the science behind everything you see around you. How do I know that? Well, I've seen it, and then quantum physics proves it in their mathematical equations and their experiences. See, we live in a matrix. Boy, that's a bold statement. But the thing is that there is a physicist, and his name is James Gates. He explained that they found computer language deeply embedded in the equations of fabric of space. That is ones and zeros deeply embedded in the equations that explain the universe. Okay, so if there's computer language in the fabric of space, that means that there is a computer. Not one we're talking about, you're sitting here looking at now, but the whole universe is a computer, an intelligent, self-aware computer program. So, how does that work? Do you ask the question also when you go into meditation? See, we live in a multidimensional, mind-created and self-aware universe. That means that we are also mind-created. Our bodies, even our brain, is mind-created. So if we take that and apply that to the multidimensional universe, we can create things with our mind. We can go places in our mind. So let's stay with our universe for this purpose. When we talked about astral travel, there's two ways to do that. One of them is the general term astral travel, which I looked for a definition. I know 6 or 7 once, so I'm going to throw them in the trash can and tell you what I think. And that is that when you take the astral vehicle that is attached to the physical body and remove that vehicle from the physical body, and then you travel inside that astral vehicle, you can experience things, you can go places and do things, and then you feed the information of what you experience back through the silvery cord, back to the physical brain, so it can be lodged as memories. And this can be taught. You learn this.
And you teach this, don't you, Augie?
Yeah, I just started a course on mastermind, and we can, if somebody want to be part of that or learn how to do it, send us an email at themastermindconnection@gmail.com.
Well, I'm curious to know what, if anything, Iroquois shaman Don Young has to say about out-of-body experience and astral travel.
Yes.
Well, in my lifetime, before I was 16, I actually died once. I was in a car accident, and I found myself walking around. I didn't know I was dead at the time. I was walking around the vehicle, looking at it, limping. I didn't know what was going on. I seen a big hole in the windshield. Apparently, I went flying out of the windshield, slammed up against a tree. So anyway, I sat down and I just fell asleep. And I woke up in an ambulance. They were reviving me. So now, as far as the projection, well, I wasn't by the tree. When they found me, I was actually inside the vehicle. And they said that I was dead for about 2 to 3 minutes. My heart stopped and all activity was gone. They had to use a respirator and bring me back. But while I was under, I didn't see what most people say. There's the long tunnel with the light on the end or anything like that. I didn't see anything like that. I seen similar to what he was speaking of, where you're looking at, similar to your body, you're looking at your body. But I didn't see myself. I seen an empty vehicle. It was almost like as a ghost. I didn't know I was dead. I was just walking around the accident area. And then I just suddenly felt very exhausted. I was tired. So I sat down next to a tree. And as I said, I woke up in an ambulance, revived.
That's amazing.
As far as going deeper into it with projections and stuff like that, I've had visions and stuff like that where I am flying, so to speak. There's stuff out there that no one can explain. I've said it many times. When it comes to, there's no expert. No one can claim to be an expert of the unknown because it's unknown. I have to say on that subject.
Well, thanks for sharing your personal experience. You certainly aren't alone in people who report having died, been able to see their physical body and other people moving about, and then wound up back inside their original physical body somehow. And not everyone does see phenomenon. And I have to wonder, as a skeptic, I write daily articles for several publications, including thedailyconspiracy.com, and I want to get verifiable sources, and 3 is nice. 3 or more is always nice. Personally, I have been unconscious a couple of times, but I don't know if I was near death because I was unconscious and there was no one else around. What I find interesting, though, is 2 schools of thought. Most people say, if you see the tunnel of white light, go to the light, go to the light. But I've also read a completely reverse reading, if you will, of that the white light is a trap that the Draco reptilians alien race set to force fly, one of those lights that zaps flies or an insect zapper that you put out in the yard, and that if you go to the light, it zaps you back onto Earth, the prison planet, to reincarnate. That's a very negative and minority view. But as a skeptic, I have to entertain it. Most people do seem to think that going toward the white light is the thing to do. And if you miss that banana boat, you may be in something akin to perdition for quite a long time. But I've not heard anyone spoken about that. What, in other words, it seems to be a one-way ride. You go into the white light and you might loiter there a bit and come back to your body, but people don't go very far into it, it seems, before they, if they're gonna come back, they do come back. What do you think, Augie?
Yeah, I do want to comment on that one because first of all, the experience that you had done, chances are that was not an astral journey. That was your consciousness, your soul substance that was out there. Because when you travel in the astral vehicle, you can see the cord that you're attached to the physical body with. If you died, that cord is separated and you're on your own out there. So that's probably what happened to you. And when it comes to that tunnel, yeah, there is a lot of people that has come forward and said, yeah, I had an accident and I died and I found myself going through the tunnel, floating through it. But I got to the other end and there was my mom. She was standing there holding her hand up and said, son, you can't come here. It's not your time yet. You got to go back. A lot of people have come back with that experience. And what happens there is that, yes, there are accidents also that happen in the spiritual. Somehow that person could have gotten killed by accident that was not planned out before they took on the body. So they had more stuff in the physical that was planned for them that they had agreed to come and do an experience. And they would always have the choice and they can say, oh, heck with that stuff I planned on, I want to leave. Yeah, they could. And then, of course, probably what would happen from what I experience is that then you come back and will have to, in a different form, different body possibly, and you will have to redo what maybe you didn't get to experience the first time. But then again, there are variances. So I don't know if there is a set rule for anything like this. There is. Because once you're through the tunnel, there is an education. This I saw in the download. And through hypnosis, I've gone back and experienced myself when I made the agreement of what I was going to do here. So when you
people who don't know, Augie, what's a download? You're not talking about a computer download. Okay, you're talking about a consciousness download, right?
It is a conscious download where I was sitting in meditation. I could see this bright white light start forming in front of me. It got bigger and bigger and it encompassed me all the way. And then I started seeing things in it that was floating things. That was anything like concepts, people, inventions, and just about anything that things that I was interested in, I could lock onto it and bring it back out and I could see the whole thing and it will pass in just a very short time, like maybe less than a second, pass through, but I had a complete memory of it. And then I saw from the beginning of time, I could see how the universe was formed all the way up to things that is yet to come. That is providing, of course, that I stay in this timeline that I had at the time I had that experience. And it gets really involved and complicated here when you get into that arena. But there is an education process on the other side where you kind of brought up to speed because you come there also with amnesia. You come
That's
here.
why people probably don't want to mulligan their life, their incarnation, given a chance to, like when I blacked out one time, it was an injury, okay, so a head injury, trauma, and I may well have been faced with the opportunity of bagging it at that point, but when confronted with having to start over, return to go, but go to, it's like going to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. You're back to square zero you have some life experience to show for it, but if you're goal oriented like I am, I can't imagine that my oversoul or my soul would let me cop the easy way out. For the most part, that would be extenuating circumstances. But
yeah, I think that's the problem. People that take their own life, there is a chance that could be pre-planned also, even though it looks horrible.
Indeed, so that they want to experience that. Yep. And that their family members and friends agree to that soul agreement, incredible as it might sound, or as unsavory as it might sound. If you're an eternal being, I'm given to understand, your biggest enemy is boredom. And when you have the power to create universes, as we do apparently or allegedly when we're out of our bodies, then you have all this time on your hands and come to places like Earth to incarnate and have a set of experiences that are more or less predetermined. I'm sure there's a lot of free will involved, but you have these goals, just like people have when they're in the body. A lot of people learn in their lives to make goals and reach them, whether it's consciously writing them down or just, I want to get out. I want a better life. That's a goal. I want a better life. It's more of a wish than a goal, but I want a better life by increasing my income, getting a better place to live, and getting a nicer car. Those are better goals because they're more specific. But
yeah,
I would not want to start over. A lot of people who think that you do a certain number of incarnations and then you may opt out think that that's a reason why people would come back. And I also agree with you when you said people, when it's not your time, although it's hard to imagine how it could not be your time. It may be that when we incarnate, we understand we have certain escape routes planned in, certain opportunities will present themselves. And if things get too rough, here's an opportunity to bug out and do over.
Yeah.
These junctures in your life. That's an interesting line of thought to pursue, actually.
Yeah, and chances are that maybe just leave, and that may not have been planned. It could happen also. There are mistakes that happens in the quantum of reality for humans.
I can buy that. Well, hey, say, Don, you have anything to add to this lively topic?
Well, I myself have had, not where the cord was attached or anything, but in my life during visions and where I've done paranormal work, I have left someone else. And yes, I have seen myself sitting there in the lawn chair, looking rather stupid, but it's I don't know how to explain it to the layman, but when it happens, and you, at least with me, when I re-enter my body, I am completely void of any energy. I am totally wiped out. I'm tired. All I want to do is just sleep and relax, because for some reason, when you do leave your body, it must take an immense amount of energy to do so. So that's about all I'd have to add to it.
Well, thank you for that. And I am going to segue us into a second taboo topic with Jean Broida. Welcome to the April 5th, 2020 episode of Taboo Topics with Jean Broida. I'm your host, Jean Broida. We broadcast every Sunday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States on my YouTube channel, Taboo Topics with Jean Broida. That's Broida. You can find us at tabootopics.life/shows. And we are multicast on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. I wish I had a reverb here. GERN. So thank you all for coming. We talk about paranormal topics quite a bit here. And personally, I'm a ufologist, a UFO researcher with a book published on Amazon called Unknown Objects, the Top 10 U.S. UFO Cases. It's simple but easy, simple yet complicated. That sounds odd, but straightforward might be the better way to say it. It's a straightforward accounting of 10 cases fundamental to where we are today in our understanding, the public understanding of UFOs, and why anyone would believe you must be crazy to believe in UFOs. Read Unknown Objects and you will understand why you must be crazy not to believe in UFOs. That's my humble opinion as the author. Thank you so much. So I do write daily articles. I get paid to write conspiracy theories, which is wonderful. And what I find is that most conspiracy theories are actually conspiracy facts. There's a lot of mystique about conspiracy theorists because of the CIA saying that we're wackadoodle-doos, but a conspiracy is simply two or more people plotting to do evil, meaning selfish acts. There's plenty of that going around, from high levels of government to your own family, I would imagine. And then a theory is simply something that hasn't been proven. So a conspiracy theory is supposing that two or more people are plotting together to do harm to others. That is not a stretch of the imagination. And I love to write about fringe topics that mainstream media won't touch. And here's one. I wrote this almost a year ago. It was published April 9th, 2019. This was called Moon and Mars Are Already Inhabited. So here we go. Now remember, this is a year ago. Think how far we've come in a year. Recent promises from Elon Musk to colonize Mars on a fast track. Announcements from both China and Japan that they plan to colonize the moon. And US President Trump's proclamation for a new sixth branch of the military, the Space Force, all suggest to some conspiracy theorists that we, the people of Earth, are being prepped for soft disclosure about the existence of extraterrestrial beings. Puzzling images, courtesy the United States National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, to you and me, only add fuel to the speculative fires. Ever since Viking 1 returned an image of what has been dubbed the face on Mars in 1976, some theorists have maintained that governments on Earth and other planets and other star systems have been collaborating on building and staffing above top secret Moon and Mars bases for decades. Photo analysts who have pored over NASA images captured from low Earth orbit or a rolling surface rover, such as Curiosity on Mars, have identified what they call artificial structures. There appear to be quite a few odd features on the surface of the red planet, which may not actually be red. Here are a few to ponder. And in my article, I've linked to these things. I'll just mention these. People familiar with Moon and Mars lore and questioning will know these. But basically, these speak for themselves. There's a port facility of some kind, as in a spaceport, a tall structure dubbed the Tower, which, based on the shadow it casts, measures about 4 miles high from the surface, or 12 times taller than the largest skyscraper on Earth. Number 3 is a row of 3 massive mile-high towers that eerily resemble the position of the Pyramid of Giza and how they too mimic the 3 main stars of the constellation of Orion. And if you go look at these massive mile-high towers, they are the darndest things because they're sharp and pointy. They just don't look, they look very out of place. Not to say they couldn't be natural, they just don't look very natural at all to me. Number 4, glass tubes which have an industrial appearance. This is one of the first things that I saw being identified from NASA photos. These are glassy, and again, they could be mineralogical, geological, but given a preponderance of evidence, this is kind of hinky. And number 5, a bird-like object or creature seen in the sky in one frame, which then disappeared in the next frame captured. So here's some sort of bird-like object or creature in one frame of video gone, suggesting movement or a glitch, a technical glitch. You know, I'm a technician, I get that. Onward with the article. The idea that advanced civilizations have already staked out territory on Mars and the Moon goes directly against the official narrative and what we know to be true. Keep in mind that we know only what NASA and the international scientific community tells us. So what do we really know about conditions for life on the Moon and Mars? Are they uninhabitable, hostile environments and capable of supporting carbon-based life as we know it? We've been told there is ice made from water on the Moon. We know that liquid water flows on Mars right now. Water is the basis for all life as we humans know it. Its presence indicates at least a possibility for some living organisms to exist or have existed, even if they were small microbes. The official NASA narrative is that Mars' solar storms from the sun in the distant past destroyed its atmosphere, rendering it incapable of sustaining life. Of course, other people claimed that it was nuclear devastation from an advanced society run amok. And the same space agency, NASA, said that the Moon rang like a bell, suggesting that it is hollow after the 1969 Apollo 12 lunar module and the 1970 Apollo 13 SIVB booster were ejected from space to fall back and impact on the surface of the Moon. Just to rephrase that, the Moon rang like a bell, suggesting it's hollow, not solid. So the thinking down on Conspiracy Street is that the Moon is an artificial satellite operated by advanced beings who use it as an interstellar way station. And also, I might add, to observe what's going on Earth. Alien experiencer and contactee Alex Collier relayed a message he got from some friendly Andromedans, beings from Andromeda, who described the Moon as hollow with lots going on under the crater-pocked surface. Quote, "The Moon is hollow. It contains huge underground facilities built by ETs and later humans from Earth. There are 7 openings into the Moon's crust and the underground bases. Conservative scientists have wondered why so many craters seem so shallow, despite their size. The Andromedans say it's because much of the surface was built on top of a metallic shell of a circular space crest or a war carrier." An incredible number of images have been presented by NASA that do appear to show unnatural or artificial structures on the Moon, and they have been identified by image analysts. Of course, it is human nature to look for meaningful patterns when looking at natural geologic formations. There's even a term for that that's hard to pronounce. But some of these images seem too regular, too geometric to be an accident of nature. And according to insiders, NASA hires people in the old days to airbrush, smudge, and now to Photoshop and alter photos before releasing them to the public. And now, with the rising number of strange views coming from our nearest neighbors in space, that would be the Moon and Mars, some people are wondering if all these less doctored photos are being released on purpose to get everyone ready for full UFO disclosure, the goal of every ufologist. And this is published on thedailyconspiracy.com with kind permission to reproduce. Thank you very much. I just want to read the first comment that a reader posted. Where do you think the $21 trillion missing has been going? Talking about missing from a Pentagon budget audit, not missing, unaccounted for. It's different. They never had to account for it, so they never did. But it's something like now $21 trillion. The comment continues. Secret space program, 0 point energy. Sir Isaac Newton said, the only thing that gives me a headache is the moon. Almost perfect circular orbit, which cannot be explained unless you say it was put there. Also, I would add myself, one side constantly faces Earth. This is very unusual in nature. Werner von Braun in a press conference made a mistake with the moon's neutral point distance, and then he suddenly retired. I'm not quite sure what that's a reference to, but I'll be looking that up. So as a UFO researcher, I tend to believe that, and I'm not alone. A lot of people were thinking that NASA is covering up quite a bit of insider information. The Air Force has been working quietly with a space division that is now the sixth branch of the military, the Space Force. They have been working rather quietly alongside of NASA as the military companion, if you will. So this has been going for decades. This program has been going for decades. Why would, and in as much as we, as ufologists, believe that the byproduct of secret programs since at least the Roswell crash, if not before, have kept high technological goodies retrieved from UFO crash sites and goodness knows where else, kept those technological goodies in the hands of the powers who found them or seized them, that is the US Air Force and their military contractors. US Army got some, various branches of the US military, other world governments and their militaries. Almost everybody official seems to have a finger in this pie, and the rest of us are left challenged. Do you believe in UFOs? This is not a matter of belief. This is a matter of fact. Our government knows they exist. But whether Moon and Mars are already inhabited is rather more speculative. My intuition says, yes, they are. There are insider accounts that, yes, they are. But what do you guys think about Moon and Mars already inhabited? I yield the floor and I will unmute you. Don?
Oh, well, I've always been amazed by outer space. I've sat under the stars many a time looking up, waiting for something to move. For scientists to say that the Mars or other planets is inhabitable is foolish, because just like the unknown, it may be uninhabitable by us or life forms that we know. We don't know what other life forms are out there. I've ran into people already that have told me that no, aliens and all that, that's bogus. All right, if it's bogus, putting the Great Spirit or white man's God aside and going strictly on science, where did all life on Earth come from? The Earth started as a massive ball of molten rock. One at a time, you got a comet with ice that slams into it. It had microorganisms on it from somewhere. Where? Somewhere out there in the vastness of space is life. That is the only explanation why we have life, because it came from somewhere.
Well, what do you think about life that's beyond microbial? I'm talking about walking, talking, or telepathing beings.
There would have to be. Also, there would have to be a Like you had mentioned about this one frame of a creature flying and then all of a sudden it disappears. Yes, there is the possibility that that could have been a glitch, but it could have been interdimensional, where it's seen in one frame going along and then just like that, it's gone. That doesn't mean that it's a glitch. It also doesn't mean that it's interdimensional. It means that there are possibilities of anything. Um, as far as other life forms beyond microbial, yes, I believe. You look at all life on Earth, we have creatures as big as the blue whale. We have insects small as an ant. We can't be the only place that all of this accumulated. Just because we are in the right gravity and right setting in the universe where the sun, that it's not somewhere else. There's space is way too vast for us to be ignorant to the possibility of either a another life or planet exactly like ours, or numerous thousands of them. The space is so huge, it's impossible to fathom not being life.
Well, I agree with all that. Do the Iroquois have a tradition of descent from star people? I know the Hopi do.
Yes, yes. They one there's many. Um, the floating head is based on both spirit or creatures from the sky. Um, there's many stories that things that come from the sky, but they didn't associate it with spacemen or anything like that. They associated it with the spirit world. But when you look at it as modern day, this very well could have been. You look at the uh, Aztec ruins, the Egyptian pyramids, stuff like that, that has such a polished sheen to the rock that modern technology cannot even come close to that. Or the, as in Indiana Jones, I always thought that that was made up, but it's actually true about these crystal skulls. There is no technology made today that can polish intricate crystal like that.
I know, right? Those are
And
trippy to the max.
where did these people of 1,000+ years ago? I'm sure they weren't sitting there with a thumb polishing this stuff to get it so smooth. That would take a couple lifetimes.
Well,
So
anything's possible. But
yes.
you know, Occam's razor says the simplest answer is often the right one, or is the right one. And to me, advanced beings is a simple explanation. And yet the mainstream has shunned this for so long. It's just so taboo. It intrigues me because it appears to me to be so obviously true, and many other people too, especially people who've had encounters, close encounters, so called. Why our government goes to such great lengths to cover it up and keep it secret. You follow the money. That's what I've learned. You follow the money, and the money is in the high tech goodies, as I said before. And I don't want to start ranting about it. Augie, what do you think? Mars, moon, inhabited. Go.
Yeah, follow the money and oil. These flying saucers do not come here burning gasoline. They don't want any competition. But when you were talking about things that were on the moon and on Mars, I totally concur, because on one of my websites, I have pictures of all those things. That website is augie-nust.com. And there is a picture gallery there, about 5,300, maybe 5,600 by now, pictures, unbelievable pictures of pyramids on the moon, pyramids on Mars, a pyramid on Venus. I got NASA prints of 2-mile-long spaceship floating across the surface of the moon, throwing a shadow on the ground. Another crashed spaceship sitting on the moon in the crater is so clear as a bell. There is no question of what it is. It's a NASA print. By the way, I have written to NASA and got some of these prints, so I know they're real from NASA. And on this website, ag-nus.com, you will find also there is 2 videos that Nori and I did. One of them is called The Moon Pictures, and the other one, The Mars Pictures. On the Mars pictures, there was one picture there, the NASA print, that showed about 20 feet away from the rover. There's a little big-headed, big-eyed alien standing there, and you can clearly see it. And this picture was somehow they got to it before NASA got to do anything, because it has all the graphs and the distances and everything all in the imprint, which was sent by the rover before NASA got a hold of it. So all these things, they're all there. And if you go to that website, you'll see that and many other things. In fact, we're all talking about disclosure. Disclosure has already happened. The president of Russia, Medvedev, at the time, he was on a radio interview, and after the interview, the camera was running. And they asked him, "What can you tell us about? Are there aliens? Are there alien spacecraft here?" And he said on camera, "Yes, when we take office, we get a dossier that explains about the aliens and the UFOs, but we cannot talk about it. They tell us that they are afraid of panic."
Yeah, I wrote that up, actually. I wrote about the Russians disclosing UFOs and talking about the briefcase that when how do you pronounce his name? Medvedev?
Yeah.
Medvedev, thank you. Yeah, he thought he was off microphone.
Yeah, the thing about
talking
it is
to reporters.
It was so good that when they put it on the air, they ran that also in Russia. But nobody talks about it.
And then of course, there's stories about U.S. presidents getting the same briefcase treatment. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's another one. I wrote this note here a while back, and that's called, there is a guy that works for NASA, maybe retired by now, but you never know. Joseph F. Blumrich, a leading engineer at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. He studied for 18 months all of the pictures and all of the activities that have been seen on the moon, both from NASA and from the Russian Space Agency. And he came out and he said, the moon and Earth are and have been visited on a regular basis by extraterrestrial beings. That was Joseph F. Blumrich.
And who's he? One more time?
And there is, Joseph F. Blumrich.
I've heard that quote before. I just didn't know who it was attributed to.
Say again?
I've heard that quote before. Who is Blumrich? Do you know?
Joseph F. Blumrich, he was a leading engineer at Marshall Space Center.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. And in fact, there is a, let's see, there's also a, I had a couple of notes that I was going to tell you about. There is a publication that is called, and I don't find it, and that is, Chronological Catalog of Lunar Events. Write to NASA and ask for that particular document. It has several hundred of documented weird occurrences, things that has been seen, explosions on the surface and craft flowing across the surface on the moon. It is explained all the way back to about 1620 when the first astronomers started to look at the moon through the newly developed telescopes. There is stuff out there, and there's nothing that can deny it if you look at the facts. And that's what I love your term there, Gene, conspiracy facts.
Yes, and we are conspiracy synthesists who connect the dots between all this stuff. When you get into some of the esoteric writings of Plato about Atlantis, and when Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, was writing about Atlantis, this lore was already thousands of years old. And there's scuttlebutt on Ufology Street and Conspiracy Street that Atlantis was the refuge of Martians, not little green men and women, but humanoid type beings who had trashed their environment, sound familiar, and possibly were on the brink of nuclear disaster and fled to Earth or came to Earth. There's lots of variations on this theme that Martians were in Atlantis, and they are martial. If you know anything about astrology, Mars rules aggression and violence, and aggression and violence. So Atlanteans the Atlantic temperament is thought to be warlike, whereas the Pacific temperament from the inhabitants of Lemuria, and before that Pangaea, the one continent, they were telepathic and peaceful, got along. And then the Atlanteans showed up, perhaps from Mars, and ruined it for everybody. And we're the byproduct of all that progenation.
You mentioned little green men. No, they're not green. They're not green. Some of them are gray. And in that video that called the Mars pictures on, you can go to our website, broadcastteamalpha.com, and you can see that video where actually I have pictures of a woman in a flowing long dress standing on a ledge on Mars. And on the other one, there is a man standing, leaning up against a rock. And this is taken by the rover. And they're clear as a bell. There's no question about what it is. And that is there, the broadcastteamalpha.com. You can see those pictures.
Broadcastteamalpha.com. And is there a special tab for Moon and Mars stuff?
Yeah, if you go down into the radio shows that we've done, in the videos there, you will find them. It's probably about 4 or 5 months ago now we put that in. So it's a little ways down into the stream.
Coolio. Don, Moon, Mars, anything to add?
No.
Oh, cool.
No, it's, like he had mentioned, the little green men, gray and stuff like that. When people see stuff on Earth, there's many possibilities of different stuff. I'm not saying that everything is an alien or everything is a spirit. There's many misidentifications out there. Some person may think that they have just seen a ghost, when in fact it could have been an alien. Some people may have seen an alien when in fact it could have been a spirit. There's no way of knowing unless we actually get the government to give what they have. Then we'll have a more open vision into what's out there.
Well, I'm not holding my breath for for government disclosure, but I agree with Augie that disclosure is happening. In fact, I've written about it. The CIA has done data dumps. The FBI has published information. The Black Vault is a website anyone with this interest should check out. They have troves and troves and troves of declassified documents available for anyone who cares to look. There's plenty of proof that you must be crazy not to believe in UFOs. And if you just tuned in, thank you for doing so. You've found us. Taboo Topics with Gene Broida, broadcast Sundays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern in the U.S. on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network and my YouTube channel, Taboo Topics with Gene Broida. We're in our second hour, and I am thrilled to introduce Don Young, Iroquois shaman and author, to bring our next topic to the Taboo Topics table.
Okay.
Don, can't hear you. There we
I
go.
had to mess with my mic a little bit there.
I totally
Oh.
get it.
Hello, everyone. With my topic, I'm gonna base it on a little bit more of modern events that are happening. As a Native American taught shaman since the early 1970s, I have seen many natural miracles of healing. I believe more natural medicines should be looked at for possible cures or treatments to the coronavirus strains as well as other viruses plaguing our world. Native American natural medicine has been handed down from shaman to shaman, medicine man to medicine man for thousands of years. Yet in today's society, until lately, within the last 10 years, it's been greatly ignored. One in today's world that is known by the name hantavirus was one such virus that was known by indigenous people for thousands of years, and they called it the sickness of the mouse. Natural medicines come first in my words to modern and is the root to most all modern medicine development. Indigenous natural medicine has shown great promise for curing and treating respiratory, urinary, and other viruses of blood or body. These sometimes deadly viruses, such as malaria, influenza, SARS, MERS, Hanta, and other strains related or not to the current coronavirus. I have been in contact with several of my friends that are currently serving in the United States military, a couple of which are high ranking, and have told me there is good indication that this outbreak of corona was a test of the world's capability to handle an outbreak of this magnitude. The U.S. military has increased their purchase of biosuits and other gear within the last year. My wife currently works at a factory that has military contracts. One contract that she has mentioned to me has been running now for 1 year and pumps out hundreds of thousands of plastic clips for the M4A1 assault weapon, which is the preferred rifle of our armed forces. Another contract is for a valve used in a biosuit, aforementioned. I've been putting two and two together along with what my military friends have been telling me, and I believe strongly that sometime in the near future, perhaps next year, we will be hit with a terrorist biological weapon significantly more devastating than the virus currently destroying the economy and lives around the world. Many of our enemies worldwide have noticed that this outbreak has brought us to our knees, straining our resources, economy, and strength as a military power. In a small effort, anyone listening, a possible remedy for certain deadly viruses or possible future biological weapons. First off, I am in no way claiming this is a cure for the coronavirus. I am only saying it has worked on other deadly and similar viruses that I have mentioned earlier. This treatment must be applied in a 5-stage method. Here goes. And if you don't get all this, I will give the website where I am posting this recipe. First is the antiviral. Take powdered purple cone flour, 1 teaspoon with 1/4 teaspoon grated licorice root, with 1/2 teaspoon ground wild yarrow flour, with 1/4 dice fresh wild wormwood. Boil this for 20 to 30 minutes in 1 quart of water, cool enough to drink. These ingredients can be increased by volume to make large batches if accordingly. Second is to increase perspiration. Mix 1/2 teaspoon ground peppermint with 1/2 quart water. Boil for 20 minutes, strain and drink, hot or cool. Third is to force blood liver cleanse. Take 2 fresh garlic cloves, crush. Mix with 1/2 cup pure wild crushed blueberries and 1 teaspoon fresh cut parsley leaves. Boil ingredients together with 2 cups unsweetened grapefruit juice. Lightly strain and drink. Fourth is to induce urination and kidney bladder flushing. Mix 1 teaspoon grated ginger root with 1/4 teaspoon grated dandelion root with 1 teaspoon fresh chopped rosella hibiscus flower. Boil all together in 1 quart of water for 30 minutes. Strain, cool, and drink. Fifth is to help nasal and lung passages. Take 1 teaspoon of ground wild mullein flower with 1 teaspoon ground peppermint. Bring to a boil for 5 minutes with 1 quart of water. Use as a vape, inhaling the steam deeply. To get your face too close, as this can be harmful and can cause burns from the steam. Repeat all the following for 5 days, once in the morning, again before bedtime. And again, this has worked in the past for malaria, hanta, and other extremely deadly viruses. So I don't see why I am not claiming it does, but I don't see why it couldn't be a treatment for the corona. I do not accept, and I must add, I do not accept responsibility for injuries of this remedy from allergic reactions or misuse, from inaccurate measurements, or physical injuries from use of hot tea or vape blends. My second book of stories and herbal treatments, called A Shaman's True Tales and Herbal Remedies, can be found on Amazon, or the link, which is replures.webs.com. I will also place this above viral remedy on a website that accompanies my book as a herbal reference guide. This is truetales.webs.com. I actually got it right here. That could be. There it is, truetales.webs.com. That book now will work with the website. If a person doesn't know what the wild plant looks like that is described in the book, you simply look at the website and there is a full color picture of the plant. On that website will also be the recipe that I've just told you for the antiviral medicine, natural medicine.
And I went to my browser to put this in, and I can't do too many things at once because I just can't. So truetales dot what?
That truetales.webs.com.
Webs.com. All right, I'm going there right now. Oh yeah, bookmark. Oh yeah, this is the good stuff, people. Thank you, Don.
Yes, and I'd like to say also that the majority of the remedies in the book are, many of them are 1,000. Modern day scientists are just starting to dig into them, and of course they're going the wrong way. Since you can't patent a plant, they're going the wrong way, and they're recreating them as a synthetic. Well, that's not the same. And in my recipes, you will notice like if a person takes, for instance, ginseng, the domesticated ginseng is far weaker than the wild. Anything that you can find that's in the wild is 10 to 100-fold more potent with the healing um, properties than a domestic made. That's why in my recipes I say wild, uh, and I give the exact measurements for wild. Um, Many of the domestic stuff would take a lot more. You look in the stores when you buy a bottle of vitamins.
What you're saying is that if people are using product ingredients that are not wild sourced, they
It'll
should
be weaker.
anticipate adding more to get the same strength.
But before they start doing that, I would highly recommend going and seeing a qualified herbalist, because some of them are potent, while some of them are a ripoff, so to speak. You go into a store and you buy natural vitamins or stuff like that. You're getting 1/4 vitamin, 3/4 filler. And
Right.
that doesn't help you. You're going to have to take 10 pills of standard, or you can go into the woods, find your own, and it only takes a half a pill for the potency level that you need. That's what's happening out there, and I'm actually kind of confused why no one is looking into these viruses that are plaguing the world and looking for herbal or natural remedies. How they say the Chinese are looking into it. Well, as we've seen on TV, they're all lying. I'm sure they've got a cure, but I don't think they're looking for that. Like I said, I believe by when I've looked at the military friends that I have, I believe this is a test. They wanted to see the devastation that it'll cause. What are we, for years, have bragged that they are so powerful that we are ready for anything. Well, look what happened. We got dropped to our knees.
Well, it ain't over till it's over.
Yeah.
I'm not keen on this negative tone here, Don. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, no,
with you.
I'm not.
A light worker, and light work isn't always pleasant. But I'm not caving to the globalists.
No, I'm not saying
okay,
that.
I'm not going there.
I'm not a war zealot or anything like that. But what I am getting at is they're testing us. They're trying to see.
Do you think they're pushing us to the limits in terms of, for example, after Katrina, there were gun grabs in New Orleans. The National Guard went in and the New Orleans Police Department went in door to door, kicking down doors sometimes, going in, throwing little old ladies to the ground to take their guns. Do you think that the military is mobilizing to do that sort of thing as a training operation, basically? Is that what you're saying? Or wondering?
It's basically what is happening. The like the medical ship, that hasn't been called out since a war. That's a medical warship. And yes, they are. The military is practicing right now as well. They have to practice. The next time this happens, we will be a little bit more ready. This time it took us by a big surprise. What's scary about this is all it takes is for a terrorist to get on an airplane, fly to New York, and go to a couple restaurants. Now you got an outbreak again. That's what I'm getting at. With the herbals out there, since we have seen that it's very hard to get medicine, and most of the medicine, as we've seen on TV, is made in China.
Right, we got to get away from that dependence.
Yep,
I've written about that too.
exactly.
But, okay, I want to hear what your or other people's cures. What about cures from where you're from, back in Europe?
Back in Europe anymore, they don't talk much about natural medicines. They're all brainwashed into staying with the official pharmaceutical stuff. But people are getting educated in a more so probably right now than it used to be for the last 10 years. But when you talk about the coronavirus, that was no surprise. Actually, we know that because in China, they were hiring people before even anybody knew about coronavirus. They were hiring epidemic people, a lot of them. Same thing here, the CDC were hiring people that were specialized in epidemics beforehand. And the coronavirus is patented. Here's the patent number. That is two of them actually. 101-30701 is one patent on it, and another patent which is international through the patent office in Washington. 2006257852. It was patented in 2006.
One of these was by Purebright Institute, is that right? Purebright?
Yeah, they own it, yeah.
And Gates Foundation is a contributor or supporter of Purebright. There's a Gates tie in here. I wrote about this too.
Yes.
Yes.
On top of that.
And I just want viewers to understand that, and listeners to understand, what we're talking about are different strains of a microorganism or germ termed coronavirus. And you may have heard the term novel strain of coronavirus regarding this COVID-19. It's a new, novel means new. This is a new strain, not before seen. Go ahead, Augie.
Yep. And in fact, there also is a patented cure for it. Look it up. It is EP 3172319B1 was patented in 2019 before anybody knew about the coronavirus. And that is controlled by Chiron Corporation, now GlaxoSmith, which is a huge pharmaceutical company. But they are, and their outlet also is coming through the Microsoft MAM. So you're exactly right.
Mr. Gates, what was the date on that before you
put that to the I don't have a date. It's just 2019 it was patented.
Oh, 2019. Because SARS in 2003 is another form of coronavirus. There have been several strains of deadly coronaviruses. For some reason, this one is different. And as a numbers person, I'm looking at the numbers. I have a worldometer, looking at the numbers of cases, the number of recoveries, deaths, etc. Everybody is being forced into this one channel vision, and no wonder, given all the disruptions to business, school, just trying to shop has become problematical, and more so for people in highly concentrated urban areas.
Yeah, and see, one of the things that I was getting at was it doesn't have to be like it is now, where a Chinese mistake, or as they say, the wet market, which I doubt. The terrorists that are out there right now are looking at this. They've got TVs too. And wow, look what happened. It took one person to go over there in an airplane. Look what happened. That's what's going to happen.
Where there had been terrorist threats, and I don't like to repeat these stories because I don't like to give people ideas, but there was a rumor that of terrorists being instructed to consider tainting grocery store foods with hypodermics. But I'm old enough to remember that harkens back to now these terrorists have a common goal and purpose. They're unified by a religious fanaticism, okay? But don't you remember the very first poison scares in the United States? It was stuff like Advil or one of those, it was a pharmacy analgesic, as I recall. Somebody put cyanide capsules in those. Then we had razor blades at trick-or-treating, and then that was later debunked, that it was made up. It was made up to discourage kids to discourage parents from letting their kids trick or treat. And is this all part of the undermining of old-timey post-World War II America and those values? Not to say it was, I don't call it the good old days, because there were aspects of that time that were not good at all. But what we have is a gradual shift over time, as many people had foreseen and have written about, where post-World War II American family values, which basically were Christian and white, all right, let's just call it what it is, have eroded, and minority voices and views have risen up, and that's great. But to this point, things have become rather chaotic as things are sorting out. Now we add the chaos of this. I really feel as if the fact that this story, when it broke on the stage, immediately smelled like a conspiracy theory to me, or a conspiracy fact. The fact that we were getting misinformation out of China from the gate, the fact that there's still so many unknowns, basic unknowns about this thing. This is not how other illnesses have been treated, even SARS. I'm thinking about West Nile and mosquito-borne diseases. We've just never seen. Is this genuinely that different? And also, in as much as Age has brought patents to our consciousness, was this novel coronavirus engineered to reduce the world population, to cull out the weak and leave room for the rest of us? Because according to many, many people, not merely globalists, the world is or at least sections of the world are overpopulated. What do you guys think?
What affects people just as much as the virus itself is our immune systems have been depleted by an overuse of synthetic antibiotics. Anything the person gets a cold or anything like that, they're popping a pill. What's nice about the herbal antibiotics or antivirus, they do not affect you like the synthetic antibiotics or antiviral, where your body builds an immune to it. The herbals you can take, like just a simple one that certain companies are using now for, I've seen it on TV also. They're using oregano, which is a very strong antibiotic, to treat chickens because too many people are getting sick and tired of chemical antibiotics being put into their food. So now,
you know, Alex Jones is a big advocate of oil of oregano, and I stocked up on some a few years ago when I was convinced the end of the world was coming. And I'm a prepper, so you're speaking my language here. And I also wanted to talk to you, Don, about wormwood, because coincidentally, at the beginning of March, I started a dietary cleanse, and its purpose is to kill another virus. Okay, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I want to hear from you guys, but this antiviral regime, not so much a diet, it's basically what you don't eat. You kill the virus and bolster the immune system at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it's simple. But it's simple, but it may not be easy. Okay. No dairy, no eggs, no pork, no gluten, and as little refined sugar and starches as possible. No soy. Soy is gluten, and it's soy lecithin is in all kinds of things. You have to read it. Very little prepared food, because packaged foods are full of these preservatives that have glutens and other things in them. So I'm on this cleanse. 2 weeks later, the president puts us on national emergency, and the states and cities start local stay-at-home orders. And my neighbor recommended this cleanse. He's been on it a year, and I asked him about, was he concerned going out in public to shop? He said, I don't think a virus could live in my body at this point. And he may well be right. So to bolster the immune system, you eat fruits and vegetables as raw as possible, as many of them raw, because cooking takes out nutrients. Unless you're boiling, which, Don, you described, to extract the potent substances. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. With the recipe that I've given for the antiviral in the 5 stages, that is, it's to get the medicine in there, but now not only prepping your body, but cleansing and flushing your body, because you can take an antiviral, medicine, but it still means that the dead cells that you have just killed or eliminated are still there. So you have to flush them out of your system. Otherwise, just like with parasites, if you kill parasites, which wormwood is used for also, if you kill parasites in your system and don't flush them, now they're decaying in your body, and that's toxic. So now you're getting a different toxic. You gotta kill the virus, then flush it, and then keep on, so your body rebuilds, has the strength to rebuild itself from the damage that has been done by it. And
Yeah, over years and years and years. Look at me, I'm no spring chicken, and I've done a lot of stuff, and I've had a lot of fun, if you know what I mean, party fun. And I have taken a lot of chemicals, and I've been around a lot of chemicals, been exposed to lead. But even without any of that, lead in stained glass, even without any of that, particles bombarding us from the environment, and more and more and more. Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring in the 60s at the beginning of pollution from big factories into waterways. And once pollution gets into the groundwater, of course, it goes into plants and the atmosphere and everywhere, basically, some depending on how it travels. But we live in this very, no matter where you live, almost, there's some toxicity. I'm all for what you're saying, Don. You are preaching to the choir here. Thanks for sharing that, in fact.
well, you're very welcome. And I hope everyone out there will take my advice.
What about you,
Right.
Age? You got any cures, any advice or tips that you've heard to address the situation, to address any virus, really?
Yeah, I actually do. And I totally go along with what Don has said there. I know people that has been on medications, pharmaceutical medications, and when they quit it, they become healthy. And years and years, decades ago, my martial art master told me, if you do this one thing, you will never be sick in your life. And I pretty much done that one thing, plus or minus here and there. And I never really have been sick in my life, except for some really bad hangovers that I earned myself. But that's it. And what he told me was that sit down, take 20 deep breaths. And when you get to 20, you're going to be dizzy. Okay, then stop. And then just let yourself stay dizzy until it starts fading away on you. Take another 10 breaths, and then you stay slightly dizzy like that for 3 to 5 minutes. What is happening is that you are getting so much oxygen into the lungs that goes into the air sacs, and then in the blood, and the blood gets everywhere in your body, full of oxygen. And now we got to go back to 1931. Dr. Warburg got the Nobel Prize for discovering that no bacteria can live in a heavy oxygenated and alkaline environment. So if we oxygenate the body with as much as that, it'll kill off the virus or anything that is a bacteria that is in the body. And also, if we take and alkalize the body, we will again kill off the bacteria on that anaerobic bacteria.
And how do you alkalize the body?
Yes.
How do you alkalize the body for people who don't know?
There is several different ways to do that. Get rid of, like you're doing, get rid of pork and all these negative acidic foods that we normally eat, or take baking soda will do it. I keep my alkalinity of the body about 8 or so all the time. That's why no bacteria or virus can live in my body. 7 is neutral. You can still get a few things there, but if you keep it at 8, and if you get sick, knock it up to about 9. Take some baking soda in the morning, at noon, in the evening. Keep it
But
up.
you're not eating spoonfuls, are you? Or are you? You put
I
it in
don't.
water? How do you take it?
I take about an even teaspoon
In
the
water,
morning.
or just on a spoon?
I just no that I don't particularly care for the taste, but in the water it's good.
Yeah, most people
Well,
mix it in water,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use juice because it foams up. So I just use water.
Oh,
And when I,
fizzies.
yeah, so, and that works excellent. And otherwise, I stay away from right now. We got to remember that all the test kits, the Chinese sent 1 million test kits to the United States. 30,000 of them were sent to England, and they were tested in an independent lab and found to be tainted with the virus. So there's no way in God's green earth that they're ever going to get me to test one of those things. And they say, oh yeah, virus can't live outside of the body for more than a few minutes. That is true if it is by itself, so it is exposed to oxygen. But if the virus is enclosed in fat or something, it can live an awful lot longer. So that's probably what the Chinese are trying to get even with, because they know it came from the United States.
I read that too, or I encountered a news article yesterday about that. Everybody with an ear to the ground is encountering the same information.
Yep.
At this point in the show, Taboo Topics with Gene Broida broadcast Sunday night, 7 to 9 p.m. on my YouTube channel, Taboo Topics with Gene Broida, and at tabootopics.life/shows, and multicast on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network.com. It is time for us to wind things up by shouting things out. So, Age, how can viewers and listeners find your projects and find you?
Well, I'm going to start with this one. Here's a book, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. I talk about what I got in my universal download, and I also teach people how to use their mind in ways that they normally would think would be impossible. We talk about the origins of mankind, origins of religion, and we get into very deep subjects in here. But what I'm telling people, you get this book, read it 3 times and call me, because then you're ready for stage 2. There is a stage 2 that involves actually astral travel and some of the things that we're getting into now. So just do that. And also you can go to Broadcast Team Alpha. It's the radio show with Nori and myself. And watch some of these. Go down there and find some of the videos. We have some phenomenal guests, and you will enjoy it. There's another radio show I do that's a Universal Consciousness show. It's on YouTube. Both of them are. And universal-consciousness-show.com. And if you want to see all these evidence of people and things in space and unbelievable things that normally should not be, but it is, go to agi-nust.com. And otherwise, I'm teaching a course on the mastermind connection. That is on Patreon. And send us an email if you want to be part of the class on astro travel. Send us an email to the mastermind connection at gmail.com, because this is going to get good.
And I can attest to that. I've been to some mastermind sessions with Age Nust.
Yeah.
Is how you say your last name? Nust?
Yeah, that's cool.
I've been
That's
mispronouncing. Good. And Nori Love, your delightful co-host. Thank you so much. Anything else, Age? Anything to add? Anything to add?
That's probably about it right now. I would say,
let's turn it over to Don. Don,
Don,
what projects are you into? I know you told me some phenomenal things. And how can people contact you?
Okay. They can send me an email or to bftracker1@yahoo.com if they have any questions for me. They can go .webs.com. That's my full business and my book books website. That's REPLURES.WEBS.com. Or if they're just interested in the one book, A Shaman's True Tale, to truetales.webs.com. And like I said, I've got the thing right here, truetales.webs.com. Yeah, and I'm also starting a video series where I'm answering questions from around the world. So far, it started out where I had about 100 questions that were emailed to me about cryptids, ghosts, spirits, medicine, stuff like that. I'm up to about 1,000 questions now that I'm putting into video answering, and I place it on YouTube or on my Facebook.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of work because I answered the questions, and at the same time I'm answering the questions, I put pictures on it. So if they ask me what does this look like or so, instead of me describing it, I find a picture of it and I put it on there so they have an idea of what to look for, so to speak.
And please mention your 2 books again.
Oh, one is Trail of the Sasquatch, A Shaman's Journey. That is my entire everything that's happened to me since a child. Well, not everything. It's about 1/2 of everything that has happened to me. And then its sequel, which is True Tales of a Shaman and Herbal Remedies. I believe that's, yeah. A Shaman's True Tales and Herbal Remedies. That now has an additional about 100 more stories, but it also has about 100, if not more, Native American herbal remedies for practically everything. And it also dives into ceremonial psychedelics. So there are psychedelic ingredients that people, if they so choose to carefully experiment with and legally experiment with, because certain ones only a shaman can deal in it, or a Native American. If you don't have the proper licenses, or maybe your state just doesn't allow it, I would check into legality before first digging into that.
Sage advice for sure.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Don.
No, go ahead. I was just going to go over the website again,
Yes, please do.
replures.web.com and True Tales.
One more time when I'm not talking. Go.
Oh, the both the websites. This one has both the books and everything I do, which is replures.webs.com, and just my herbal storybook is truetales.webs.com. And that's it.
Did you say Rep Lures?
REPLURES. It stands for Razor's Edge Productions.
Okay. All righty. That makes sense.
Because my business is also a sharpening service, and I manufacture fishing lures. So Razor's Edge.
I want to come visit because I love me some fishing. And for viewers who just turned in, you pretty much missed the banana boat tonight. But this has been and will be next week Taboo Topics with Gene Broida. I'm your host, Gene Broida. Please check me out on my website, lightwork111.com. I work in progress. Head over to Amazon if you'd like to check out my book, Unknown Objects, the Top 10 U.S. UFO Cases. It's a little history book, not a coffee table read, it's meant to be an airport read. 10 easy pieces, 10 short stories about 10 cases that molded public opinion really about UFOs, from stories about Foo Fighters after World War II in the late 1940s up through the 1997 Phoenix Lights mass sighting. I do write daily articles for thedailyconspiracy.com as Lightworker111, and I'm proud to do so, happy to do so. Please visit my YouTube channel, Taboo Topics with Gene Broida. Hit the little subscribe button, and if you click the bell next to it, you'll get notices when we broadcast live. That's Sundays, 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern in the United States on tabootopics.life/shows, my YouTube channel, Taboo Topics with Gene Broida, and multicast on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Honestly, I couldn't do a show like this without fabulous guest panelists such as Age Nust and Don Young. It has been a real pleasure to kick the paranormal ball around with you guys. We have 1.5 minutes. Closing thoughts, Age.
I would say it's us, our individual self, that has responsibility to keep ourselves healthy. And do the research. Don't just sit and wait for everybody else to tell you what to do. Do your own research, because it all starts up here. You got to find your own information.
Don?
Oh, to the people out there that are thinking of experimenting with it, I would say go natural. Don't go synthetic.
Here, here. Can't go wrong going natural. Mother Nature knows best, as any Wiccan such as myself will tell you. And I too have dabbled in herbalism. Be aware that herbs, as the foundation of modern medicines, can be very potent.
Yes.
Stay informed, stay safe. Let us support each other and love each other as much as we can under these circumstances. Know that change is the only constant in the universe, and learn what you can from all life experiences. That is our take on it for right now. Thank you, everyone, for listening in to Taboo Topics with Gene Broida at tabootopics.life/shows. See you next week. Over and out.
One day, this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident.
In the councils of government, we must guard against, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment.